everyone. Welcome back to the Centura Health Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, today was day 3 of training camp, and it was the first day that fans were out at practice. Plus, head coach Sean Payton detailed his thoughts on practice, and Russell Wilson talked about his relationship with Coach Payton. All that and more coming up. Day 3 of training camp practice is in the books, and it was so great to see all of you Broncos country out there for the first open practice. We heard from quarterback Russell Wilson for the first time since the start of training camp, and he said he liked the work the team put in today.
The guys are doing a great job, just the effort, the intensity of practice, the details. Guys are really pushing every day. I think the receivers are giving a tremendous effort, so it's always inspiring watching those guys and the running backs, watching the D-line fly around. And so just the tone is the right tone and a championship tone.
We also heard from head coach Sean Payton as he discussed how the coaches are evaluating the players right now, as this team hasn't had a padded practice yet this training camp.
I tell the coaches all the time, let's not, be instant evaluators. Let's be slow to judge. Let's rotate these guys through with the first and second and third groups. Let's not, get stuck on where we think guys might be. And then gradually we'll have a chance. Right now it's, what are you doing? Do you know how to get lined up? Do you understand what we're doing, so that when you do have the pads on and we're in those preseason games or scrimmages, that because it's hard to evaluate someone if they're having trouble learning what to do or if they're slow to do it. And so it is a little early, but they're certainly bright, willing to learn. They're working hard. That's kind of where they're at.
Sean Payton also talked about the tempo of practice today and the emphasis he's putting on that this training camp.
It's in and out, up and down, on and off. In and out, up and down, on and off. And so it can be draining for the receivers that were just down the field in a 4-play script. But you see us talking about tempo all the time. Let's go. It's a way for the offense to pressure the defense a little bit. So we're not talking about hurry up or no huddle. It's just we want the tempo to be such that it's really, really fast and it's different. And substitutions, we'll begin practicing some of that. But I think we're not there yet. But it becomes easier when guys know everything cold. It's hard to practice tempo when – if you don't know what to do, you want to buy time, right? All of us, you want to buy time with a test or something. And so, but we're trying to stress them. And so when the game comes, it's a little slower.
Plus, Russell Wilson spoke on how the offense is learning Sean Payton's scheme and where they're at in that process.
Yeah, I think there's a great sense of urgency of what we're trying to do and great sense of urgency of understanding, the playbook and everybody all being on the same page. We've done a great job of it. I think the coaching staff has done a tremendous job of really teaching the details to all of us players. I think Coach Webb has done a great job in the quarterback room of really dialing up what we're trying to do and the thought process behind that. Coach Lombardi and the whole staff just has done a great job. I think us players, though, we've taken ownership of that detail too. We've had a really focused off season, and I think it's as I said, it's one day at a time. Understanding that we're trying to really embrace every single day. So in terms of learning the playbook and all that, yeah, we're ahead of schedule.
And on the other side of the ball, defensive end Zach Allen also spoke to the media today and talked about how the defense is adjusting to defensive coordinator Vance Joseph's system.
Obviously we had the off season and, guys were able to, pick it up then. And Vance is a really good teacher and all the coaches have done a great job of, kind of breaking it down. So, and I think guys did a really good job over that, kind of 6-week break, staying up on it, studying, because we've kind of really hit the ground running, from the mental aspect. We've been really good kind of assignment-wise. So hopefully we keep that up. But, yeah, Vance's system, it works. Luckily it does a really good job of implementing and teaching it.
And last but not least, both head coach Sean Payton and quarterback Russell Wilson addressed their expectations for the postseason.
Listen, I'm not afraid of the expectation. I've talked with several people about, being used to contending for the postseason. You don't take it for granted, but that mindset needs to be present here. And so, yeah, I see this as a team that has that ability, and it's our job to bring it out in them.
That's a statement we all know that we want to do. We we put on our cleats and put on our pads and train as hard as we do every day because we want to be the best in the world. We don't want to be second place. And anything not first is second, or last, in my opinion. So, I think that the biggest thing is that we as a team, we have a goal in mind, but all that stuff's down the road. I think the best way to get there is one moment at a time, enjoying each day, each practice, each moment, battling through, lifting each other up every day and putting our best and trying to be the best version of us individually and collectively as that we can be. And that's the journey we're on right now.
Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio to take a deeper look at today's practice is Broncos lead writer Aric DiLalla. Aric, first open practice of the week of training camp. It was a hot one out there today. You're already a little sunburned.
It was very hot. I got a little color.
Yeah.
But it was nice to have fans out there. Nice to see a little bit of a faster tempo, longer practice, see some more 7-on-7, more team period. It felt like a training camp practice, felt like we were back to football.
Yep, absolutely. It was a great first practice day, like you said. And I know head coach Sean Payton, he said he was pleased with how the team's approaching it and what they're doing out there. Aric, what were your just biggest takeaways from the day today?
Yeah, I thought the secondary really stood out. I mean, obviously, we know that's one of the best groups on this football team.
Right.
Damari Mathis made a big play. Riley Moss, the young corner there out of Iowa, he made a big play. Probably the highlight of the entire practice came near the end when a pass intended for Greg Dulcich was deflected by Justin Simmons, and Caden Sterns kind of dives, makes a rolling interception, shows off his athleticism, his instincts that we know he has. So that was really good to see. I thought they, as a group, were good today. And that was even without Kareem Jackson, who had a vet day. It's kind of sticking on the defensive side. I thought Frank Clark had some nice rushes, Randy Gregory, Jonathan Cooper. You saw all those guys kind of around the quarterback. And in part, we know Mike McGlinchey missed practice again for a second straight day due to a personal matter. And then Garrett Bowles did not participate in a lot of practice. Sean Payton said he's kind of part of that group of guys coming back from an injury that are going to be monitored, going to be held out of certain things. So it doesn't sound like any reason for alarm, but he wasn't out there. So you are looking at not your starting tackles that these guys were going against, but they had good days. They looked impressive. Put some pressure on Russell Wilson. Zach Allen is a guy that may have had a sack under game conditions.
Right.
So that stood out, and I'll talk more about Russ in just a second. But I just thought the overall tempo, the intensity was high. Normally, you're used to these practices as before pads. You're not sure how much you're going to get out of them. What are you going to learn? I felt like these guys worked hard. Like you said, it was hot out there, and they were grinding. And then at the end of practice, before they came over to do media and get off the field, they ran sprints. And so, that kind of shows not for them probably, but it'll help down the road.
For sure.
And I think it just shows the commitment to where they want to go this year.
Definitely. Aric, you mentioned the tempo of practice. Sean Payton, he's talked about that a couple times since the start of training camp. He's putting a big emphasis on that, specifically for the offense, try to put a bit of pressure on the defense here. And you mentioned you're going to talk about Russell Wilson here. We saw him scrambling a lot. He had that really long scramble towards the middle of practice, took it 70 yards into the end zone. The crowd was cheering. It was great to see him out there doing his thing. And I know he joked in the press conferences afterwards that he was doing it for us, doing it for the media.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody spent a lot of time last year talking about, should Russ run more? Should he stay in the pocket? All that sort of thing. So he's heard that, obviously, and a nice little joke there from Russ. But, yeah, I mean, from a tempo standpoint, you obviously want to play a little bit faster, I think. Yeah. Get to the line of scrimmage, have the ability to audible if you need to. And then in addition to that, then being able to get the ball out quickly once the play does start. Because I think sometimes teams get into trouble when you see them hold the ball. We know in New Orleans, with Drew Brees in particular, this was a fast offense. They got the ball out quickly. Sean Payton said that's the idea here as well. In 2/3 of the time, Sean said, that's where you're going to operate. You're going to be in the pocket. You're going to be trying to get rid of the ball quickly, kind of these timing throws. Then the other third of the time, things maybe don't go quite how you plan, and you've got to improvise a little bit. That's when you scramble a little bit. That's when you step up in the pocket. And we saw Russell Wilson do that on Friday, move around, step up in the pocket, get out of the pocket, like you said, scramble down the field. And sometimes you watch that in camp and you're like, okay, well, do you want a guy running in 7-on-7? Do you want a guy running in team, or should he stay back there and just make whatever the best throw is that's available? And Sean Payton, to his credit, said, no, I want him to practice what he's going to do in a game. And if you don't practice stepping out of there and scrambling, how are you going to know when to do that in a football game? So,
good point.
Like you mentioned, Russ hinted that we were going to see more of that this year. I think he's at his best when defenses have to account for both of those
definitely
elements. I think about the quarterbacks that the Broncos play that have posed issues all over the years, and Mahomes is one of those guys that he may not run a lot, but there's that threat there where he can get out of the pocket and pick up some big yards, key yards. Think Sid to that Chiefs game in Denver where Russell got hurt.
Yeah,
I mean, that unfortunately he took a big hit there, but that was a great play that he made with his legs. If the Broncos have more of that, I think they'll be successful. You saw kind of the first signs of it today.
Yeah, definitely. We've mentioned a lot of people already, Aric, but was there anyone that really stood out to you at practice today?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back just to Caden Sterns because I think that he's a guy that in the offseason, Sean Payton said, it's cliche to say that a guy needs to take the next step, but he did say that confidence in playing well, that's born from when you make plays and he called it demonstrated ability. When you see it and then you can start to believe in yourself that I know I can do this, I can do it again.
Have that confidence in
exactly.
himself. Yeah.
We know how talented Caden Sterns is. And to see him kind of take advantage of an opportunity with Kareem Jackson not practicing on Friday, I thought that was impressive. So, he kind of stands out. I mean, there wasn't a guy that again and again made plays. Tim Patrick, maybe another guy, just because it was good to see him back out there catching passes after
Javonte
what he's
too.
been through. Yeah, a nice little round of applause for Javonte after his first carry.
Nice.
But, I'll give it to Caden just because he had the play of the day there.
I like it. Another good day of practice. We have back together weekend starting tomorrow on Saturday. Another practice open to the fans as well.
Yeah.
Should be fun. And we have a lot of content coming too. We have a Broncos Camp daily show that we're doing, Aric, that you're a part of as well.
Yeah. Our friend Phil's over there.
Phil will be over there.
the
Steve
Hall of
Atwater.
Famer. Yeah. So that'll be exciting.
Yep. Everyone check it out on denverbroncos.com and the Denver Broncos YouTube channel. Aric, appreciate you joining the show today.
You got it, Sid. See you tomorrow.
That'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now, Broncos Country. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for Back Together Weekend. See you all then.